Hello Internet, my name is Vince Steele and I am a collector of video games. Now I started collecting video games a long time ago before prices really started to inflate. So a lot of the games I own now are worth a hell of a lot more than they were back when I first bought them. And this isn't one of them. So today we're going to go through and have a look at my most expensive games in my collection. Let's get started. Alright, before I start, I'm just going to say I don't have any insanely expensive games. Like I don't have a sealed copy of Mario for the Nintendo, for example, worth like $1 million. That whole thing's one giant scam. Don't pay any attention to any of that rubbish. We're going to be focusing on games you might actually want to, play. Because if you're asking me, games are meant to be played and not to be sitting in some plastic Tupperware box on some rich person's mantelpiece or stuck in some auction forever. Screw that. No one cares about that. It's a whole big scam. Shut up. I hate it. Anyway, now to get the prices, I'll be using a mix of eBay and CEX. If you don't know what CEX is, they are a shop or business that buys and sells used games, electronics, DVDs, etc. But they're mostly known for their games, at least for me. They tend to be on the higher end of the scale when it comes to price, but I find they tend to be a good place to sort of check the average of how much retro games are currently worth. Now, rather annoyingly, some of the prices have changed over the past few days since I've recorded this video, so the prices on screen won't necessarily match what I'm saying. Thanks, CEX, you big willies. Okay, the first game I have to show off is Dragon Quest Hand of the Heavenly Bride, otherwise known as Dragon Quest V. Now, here in the UK, we didn't actually get a Dragon Quest game until Dragon Quest VIII on the PS2, but it wasn't called Dragon Quest VIII, it was just called Dragon Quest The Journey of the Cursed King. I suppose with it being the first, it just made more sense to drop the number to avoid any potential confusion. It didn't work. It was even worse with Final Fantasy, with Final Fantasy VII being the first one released here in the UK, and in America, Final Fantasy II is actually 4, and then Final Fantasy III is actually 6, but then 7 is 7. Anyway, so Square started to re-release these older games for the DS on the lead up to Dragon Quest IX, which came out a little bit after, I believe. But for some reason, this one is worth way more than the other ones. I'm not entirely sure why. I assume they didn't make very many or just they weren't selling very well. But for whatever reason, according to CEX, this game is now worth around £145, which is around 183 American dollars. That's a lot of money for a DS game. Fun fact, despite me owning a bunch of Dragon Quest games, I've never actually played one. I'll just want to get around to that at some point. I hear 11 is probably the best place to start. I just want to get around to that A. I'm sure I'll love it. It's Square, it's a JRPG, I love these things. So yeah, I will at some point eventually get around to playing a Dragon Quest game. At some point, maybe. Yeah. Alright, next up, I have a box copy of the original Legend of Zelda for the Nintendo Entertainment System. This came out in 1988, the same year I came out, funnily enough. So yeah, the original classic Legend of Zelda, the game that started it all and was an inspiration to hundreds and thousands of people. It's pretty amazing. And it's a pretty good condition too. It's got a few scuff marks, a few little bit of wear and tear on the corners there, but otherwise it's pretty good. Let's take a quick look on the inside, shall we? Be careful, very gentle. Here's the gold shiny card. Look at that. So shiny. You got all the enemies there. Got a map of the world. This was huge back in the day. Yeah, very cool. And of course the manual. Remember them? Remember when we had the manuals for games? Look at this. Got tips and pictures and all this. How cool is that? So how much is it worth these days? Let's have a look. So today this game goes from £145 to £190 on CEX, depending on condition, which is around $180 to $240 in America land. So yeah, pretty pricey. But to be fair, it is the start of a classic series, and just in general, it's hard to get NES games with their boxes intact. So yeah, there we go. Alright, next up, it's Pokemon Soul Silver, the Nintendo DS remake of the original Pokemon Silver. This comes with the Pokewalker. So you could transfer your Pokemon into the Pokewalker, which is a pedometer, and it would count your steps and help level up your Pokemon. It was a gimmick. A classic Pokemon gimmick back in the day. They love their gimmicks. Yeah, it's Pokemon Silver, but it looks nicer. So I played Pokemon Blues first, played Blue and Silver, and then I got Silver, and then I kind of dropped off a little bit. But yeah, Pokemon games are always worth a ton of money. People love Pokemon. It's one of the biggest franchises ever out there. It's been going for like a million years. Jesus Christ, look at the size of this manual for the Pokewalker. Jesus, look at that. Boom. I actually sold a copy of Pokemon Emerald. It's in mint condition, cost about 250 quid on eBay. Mental. Because I only really have nostalgia for the first 2 generations. Pokemon like Blue, Yellow and Silver, the ones I had. So anything after that I'm kind of iffy on. So yeah, anyway, here's the Pokewalker. Does it work? No. Probably just need to change the battery. Yeah, so that's a little Pokewalker. Game itself is over here somewhere. There you go, there's the game. Good condition. So how much is it worth? Let's have a look. So according to CEX, a box copy of Pokemon Silver with the Pokewalker is £160 or around 200 bucks. So yeah, Pokemon, never underestimate the power of Pokemons. Alright, next up, we have a Mega Drive game. It's Castlevania The New Generation, or as it was called in America and Japan, Castlevania Bloodlines. The kind of blood over here is not allowed, so it changes to The New Generation. Yeah, it's Castlevania. It's I believe it's the only Castlevania game on Mega Drive, or Genesis if you're wrong. A spine-tingling, blood-curdling 6th level nightmare in which you have to prevent the vampiress Count S. Bartley from resurrecting the master of all evil, Count Dracula. It's very good. I played it recently actually on the Castlevania collection on PS4. It's still very good. Yep, Mega Drive game. Clunk. Mega Drive was my first console growing up. Yeah, love the Mega Drive. Konami. Remember when Konami made games? That was cool. Instruction manual. Pretty basic. It does a job. Just like me. Alright, how much is it worth? Let's have a look. According to CEX, this is worth, and depending on condition, £150 to £190, which is around 180 to 240 flag monies. I actually saw a copy on eBay which someone bought for £300. I'm not sure what was so special about that version, but yeah, there you go. It's worth a fair amount of money. Alright, next up is a Game Boy Advance game, Metroid Zero Mission. I've got quite an interesting collection here on my top 10. Anyway, right, yeah, Metroid Zero Mission. Love Metroid. So this is a remake of the original Metroid, which I also have down there. It also adds an extra little scenario in the end, which isn't present in the original game. Yeah, I played this fairly recently actually. It's very good. It holds up. I mean, Metroid literally invented a whole new genre. It's the best. It just is. Yeah, Metroid Zero Mission. I won't take that package, but there you go. Very nice. The manual. Instruction booklets. Very nice. So, how much is it worth? Well, this one varies pretty wildly depending on condition. According to CEX, it goes anywhere between £125 to £230. What? Which is about 155 to 290 Monopoly monies. So yeah, quite a big gap depending on condition. I think this has been pretty good condition. You've still got the manual and stuff. A bit of wear and tear on the side, but otherwise pretty good. So yeah, worth a fair bit, I'd say. Yeah. Okay, a bit of a different one this time. This time I have the American version of Mega Man 7 for the Super Nintendo. It's not boxed or anything, but I looked this up recently and it's worth like £200+ on eBay for the American version. This is quite surprising. Over here in the UK, Mega Man wasn't anywhere near as popular. In fact, the first time I heard of Mega Man was when Mega Man 9 and 10 came out for Xbox Live Arcade. And when I went back to look at the older games, I didn't even think the older ones came out over here. I just assumed it was in America only, which is why I ended up with a bunch of American copies of Mega Man. But no, it turns out they all actually came out over here. It just, nobody bought them and they didn't make very many. In fact, I saw someone on eBay selling all the PlayStation Mega Man games for like over £2,000 or something around there. It was a lot of money. But yeah, usually the American versions of games aren't worth anywhere near as much as the UK versions. But yeah, £200 for a copy of Mega Man 7, which is insane. Alright, next up we've got a GameCube game, Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. Now, Fire Emblem is another series that never really took off as much over here. I also have the original on Game Boy Advance. but this is the one that's worth the most amount of money. So yeah, but Fire Emblem, I love Fire Emblem. First one I played was on the one on 3DS, I forget what it's called, but that's the one that made me like really get invested in Fire Emblem. These are some great games. Oh, let's have a look inside. Oh, look at the little teeny tiny disc, it's so cute. Oh, little baby disc. Love the GameCube. Fire Emblem. Let's have a quick look at the manual. Characters. Good manual. Good manual. Solid manual. Look, the pretty pictures. Oh. Of course, we've got the advertising thing. We've got the GameCube. White GameCube there. We've got Dancing Stage Mario Mix. Remember that? And we've also got like the points card you used to be able to register your games on Nintendo.com or whatever. Nintendo VIP. I seem it's still got the little silver thing on it. Nobody redeemed this. Ah, interesting. Right, so how much is it worth? Let's have a look. According to CEX, this is worth £220, or around 280 American dollars. So pretty good. I paid nowhere near that amount for it back in the day. Alright, next up is Mega Man again. Mega Man X3. So this came out on both the Super Nintendo and PS1. The Super Nintendo version is worth a hell of a lot more money, but the PS1 version is still worth a little bit, so it's all good. Video gaming's favourite robotic superhero is back in the third installment of Capcom's exhilarating action series already. So yeah, PAL version this time from the UK. Alright, let's take a look. This game probably has the biggest manual I own. Look at this size of this chonker. Look at it. It's massive. It's huge. It has a massive manual. So this is the reason why games in Europe have these massive chunky cases. It's because manuals have to include like every language in Europe. So sometimes we end up with manuals that look like this with just the biggest. I mean, it's so thick. Look at that. That is a beefy manual for a beefy game. To be fair, it's not that beefy. It's a side-scrolling shooter. It really doesn't need that much. It really doesn't need that much information. Right. Anyway, the game is in pretty good nick. Bit cloudy, but it's fine. It works fine. I'll fetch a fair price on the eBays or the whatnots. Let's have a look and see how much it's worth. Right, so according to CEX, depending on condition, it's between £215 and £260, which is around 270 to 330 dollar bills, y'all. So pretty damn good. Alrighty, so the second most expensive game I own is Suikoden 2 on the PS1. Suikoden is a series of JRPGs made by Konami. So Konami recently announced they are making a HD remaster of the first two Suikoden games, so soon you'll be able to play this on your PS4s, which is pretty cool. The first one is also worth a fair bit of money, not as much as this one though, so let's have a look. It's in pretty mint condition as well. Manual looks nice, look at the colours. No, very nice. The disc, as far as I remember, is almost spotless. Few fingerprints, but pretty damn good. Pretty damn good. So, how much is it worth? According to CEX, Suikoden 2 is worth between £210 and £350, depending on quality. That's a lot of money. I think this is in pretty good nick. It's got like a little scuff mark at the top there, but otherwise it's in pretty good condition. I think I could get a fair bit of money for that. Not that I plan on selling any of these anytime soon. Very nice. Right then. Alrighty, it's time for my most expensive game. So which obscure relic from the past do I own that's worth the most amount of money? What absolute classic do I have that people just want to get their hands on and are willing to spend an insane amount of money for? Well, let me show you. This came out last month. So Square Enix are the biggest boneheads in gaming right now. They made so few copies of this game. I got very lucky. I happened to refresh my Twitter pages before going to bed, right as they put the tweets out announcing that this is now available to pre-order. By the time I woke up in the morning, that was sold out, completely gone. I was lucky enough to get on there right as they announced it. Yeah, people are paying more than £400 for this. £400 for a game that came out last month, and that you can buy digitally for 65 quid. Which, by the way, 65 quid for a collection of 6 retro games. That's too much damn money. I bought the Castlevania and Contra collections for like $3.99 each on sale not too long ago. That's like 12 plus games right there. So yeah, I haven't even opened it because I don't want to devalue it. That's so insane. Square, what are you doing? You have thousands of people who want to give you their money for something you can easily produce, and you're just not doing it. What are you doing? And so yeah, I just find it ironic, out of all the retro classic games I own, the most expensive game I have is a game that came out less than a month ago. That's so grated to me. Square, this is all your fault. Also, I want to play this, but I'm afraid to open it now. Like, there is still a chance they could make more. Maybe they'll come to their senses and realize, oh, people do want this? Oh, maybe we should sell it and make a bunch more money. Yeah, I don't understand. Ugh. Goddamn Square. Alright, so that is the 10 most expensive retro games I own, and one that isn't retro at all. So yeah, quite a good collection there, quite a mix of games. Got GameCube, Mega Drive, PlayStation, DS, NES, all the good ones. It's a solid collection. There's a bunch more I could have included, but I didn't want to make this video too long. Maybe I'll do a part 2 someday. But for now, thanks very much for watching. Be sure to like the video if you liked the video, subscribe for more, and I will see you all next time. Thanks very much, and goodbye!